Chula! Thank you so much for clicking onto this video. And if you are new here, well then, hi. Hello, my name is Kai. And if you're coming back to my channel, well then, what do you like me or something? Here on my channel, I aim to share my experience as a person who has left the Jehovah's Witnesses organization and what it was like to grow up in a high-control Christian cult. You might be like, Kai, why are you wearing sunglasses indoors? And my response to that would be, how else am I supposed to tell you something scandalous? You see, there is breaking news in the Exjw community, really in the Jehovah's Witness community, honestly. But Watchtower has just announced that there will be 2 additional members added to the governing body as of January 17th. Oh my gosh, isn't that amazing? So exciting. Are you totally living for it? Absolutely not. I have to be honest, this is so boring to me. Is it significant in any way? I'm really not sure. So I just wanted to make a quick video, more I guess just like sharing my opinion on the situation, because that's what we do here.
Can I get your name and where you're from, if you don't mind?
I'm Kai.
Kai, can I get spelling for you?
Straight out of Dogtown, K-A-I.
Exactly who was added to the governing body? None other than Gage Flegel and Jeffrey Winder. Have you ever heard of these people? Because I haven't. Looking into both of these men's personalities, it's very clear to see that they simply just don't have one. With the addition of these 2 men, the governing body is now comprised of 1 white Australian man, 1 white European man, 7 white American men, and 1 African American man. So yeah, I guess they filled their diversity quota. What else can you really expect from an American-based, American-centric organization with a racist history and a history of whitewashing characters in the Bible who would have typically been brown and instead representing them as white? And then in other depictions of angels and whatnot, all of those people are white too. So it's just, you know, when you put all these little pieces together, you can see the hypocrisy of them saying that they are a multicultural, international, unified brotherhood. Where is the representation? Why is no one asking these questions? I think Jehovah needs to go through an HR diversity course, because this is simply unacceptable. And I mean, like, other than that, like, who really cares and what for? The timing seems convenient, as with all things in Watchtower. The timing is very convenient. A popular theory is that current governing body members are, how do you put this, like, nicely? They're about to expire. They needed young blood to come in to be able to live like 30, 40 more years to keep perpetuating the doctrine of this generation, this nebulous generation that is never going to pass away before the end is here. So that's a lot to unpack. I mean, I really don't have a great way to explain exactly how convoluted and nonsensical it is. It's just like a never-ending series of knots and twists and turns and things that just don't make sense. You'll see. We have to understand exactly what is the basis of this belief founded upon, and that can be found in the book of Matthew 24:34 in the New World Translation. Truly I say to you that this generation will by no means pass away until all these things happen. Again, the signs of the end times. A generation has like 3 different ways that it could be implied to measure time. And looking through Watchtower's doctrinal history, it seems like they have used all 3 at least once each. But we're gonna put a pin in that for a sec and pivot to talking about something that I really never talked about on my channel before, which is exactly who the governing body is. Are they these shadowy figures operating in darkness and mystery, commanding their members to follow their every beck and call? They're actually pretty public facing, whereas in the past, they definitely were a lot more hidden and a lot less prominent, a lot less prone to putting themselves in front of their members. And actually now they are full on characters. Each one of them has their own little traits and quirks, like collectible action figures. They've become so close to everyday witnesses, and they're all under the impression that this is very special. But with that being the case, of course, they open themselves up to be criticized, which is exactly what has been happening. It's important to remember that these men literally consider themselves to be the one and only channel between God and the rest of mankind. These are all men who are what you would call anointed. Being anointed means that you will ascend to heaven to live with Jehovah God and Jesus Christ, and then also during Armageddon you are inscripted as a soldier in their army to destroy and millions of non-believers. Billions, actually, billions of non-believers. So that's fun. And the governing body members, well, those are career Jehovah's Witnesses who climbed the ranks of the organization to one day get promoted to the office of governing body. Is this all sounding like a major corporation to you? Because that's exactly what it sounds like to me. And Watchtower even says as much themselves, that these 2 brothers were basically exhausting themselves their whole entire life, or a majority of, for the organization, and then one day they worked so hard that they literally began to hear the voice of God and were therefore granted authority to guard the doctrine, or to form the doctrine, or to command other witnesses what they should do, what they should think, and how they should believe in their everyday life. That's a lot of authority and power just to thrust upon someone. And quite honestly, it begs the question, exactly what is so extraordinary about Flegel and Winder? I mean, they're basically the same guy, and to hear them speak is, I mean, you'd have a better time watching paint dry. I fail to comprehend the aesthetic. Because like I said earlier, all of the governing body members have like their own characteristics.
Now, if we think about it, we're not born as friends of God, because we're born as sinful offspring of Adam. Actually, if you think about it, we're born as enemies of God. Sometimes you'll hear people say of a little baby, "Look at that little angel." But more accurate would be to say, "Look at that little enemy of God."
Their own quirks.
What do you think of when you see a beautiful little hummingbird? What comes to my mind when I see one? Me at the age of 12 or 13, walking in the woods near my house. Upon seeing a hummingbird on a limb of a tree, I took my slingshot and pebble and knocked it out of the tree, stone dead.
Some of them are hilarious and some of them are terrifying.
See, I was in Vietnam, a medic in that war. I've seen what happens to humans when they're mangled. You see it on TV and some of that. Well, till you smell human flesh burning from a helicopter crash. People that look like humans, like a hot dog on a grill, blackened and splitting open. I know what's coming at Armageddon. A lot of dead people.
we've come to understand their personalities as time has gone on, and we've grown to know what we can expect from them as individuals. And so these two people, they just sound so by the book, corporate company guys, and I have to wonder exactly why they did that, because neither of these people they're not exciting. I just don't get it. I just feel like there were maybe like, listen to me. Like any major corporation, Watchtower is structured very much like a pyramid. You have all of your rank and file members, then you have your circuit overseers, district overseers, other notable people in each local branch, and then you have the headquarters, and that's where all the big top guys are. That's where all the company guys are. It's like the upper echelon, essentially. So if the governing body is at the very top, then the governing body helpers are logically just one step below, since of course by the nature of their position they are in close proximity to the actual governing body members. It makes sense to me. I think Watchtower might even honestly be confused, because they had said that governing body helpers were not to be anointed, or that they weren't supposed to have this special heavenly authority from God. And then they said, well, maybe a helper could become anointed after he had become a helper, and therefore he would be able to be promoted to a governing body member. To me, if you're saying that these people are divinely chosen, literally chosen by the hands of God, then I feel like it shouldn't be treated the same as applying for an upper management position. They were serving as governing body helpers, at some point got confirmed as anointed, and just so you're aware, this is a process of self-identification. There is no other criteria, symbol, badge, registration form, nothing else that would signify that you are an anointed person who literally hears the voice of God. There are some older ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who are saying that they just simply could have never fathomed that an anointed person, a governing body member nonetheless, would be so young. And there are many other helpers who have more experience than either of these guys do. In a way, Watchtower's pretty lucky, don't you think, that they just happen to have these two faithful servants on hand who were recently anointed? Isn't that just so fortunate? So lucky, right? Not weird at all. Somehow that just doesn't sit right with me, that you're employing this notion that all of these people are, again, divinely selected, divinely ordained by the heavenly Lord and Savior, and then he, like, specifically only chooses absolutely mid men, probably just because they're in their early 50s and therefore will have a longer lifespan than the rest of the governing body members, who are all in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and again, due to expire soon. These two men were picked because they're nobodies. Nobody's ever seen them before. They're not sensational. They're obviously going to stay by the book, stay in line, or I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I honestly don't expect Winder to be wilding out anytime soon. And they're both young, which means that they have many years ahead of them to be able to continue to perpetuate this absolutely illogical belief that the people of this generation, or this iteration of the generation, will not pass away before the end is here. See, every time the Watchtower says that, they have to come up with some new justification, and as time has gone on, the original teaching has just been mutilated to the point where it is hardly recognizable anymore. It is a subject that really requires its own video so that we can really dive into the history of that doctrine and see exactly how it has been manipulated over time to fit whatever occasion necessary. Altogether, super uninteresting story. Really, the biggest come up for me throughout all of this was that I did stumble upon a JW forum. Like, excuse me? JW Reddit, excuse me? Disculpe? It's totally real and totally fantastic. People were speculating on this forum that they were going to hear an announcement of 2 additional governing body members, or at least 1. They weren't really sure, but they had these speculations all the way back in July of last year. And while most were excited about this rumor, some people were able to criticize this decision, being that the governing body member, whoever it was most likely going to be from the United States. And even one person had said that the governing body will never appoint an Asian man, a South American man, or an African man. I mean, do you really think it's because there aren't extremely spiritual and devoted members all across the world? Of course not. So what else do all of these places have in common? Well, white people don't live there. But as always, any measured criticism of the organization is quickly brushed away, saying that, well, ultimately it is a decision from heaven and not for us to comment on or question in any way at all. And also, somehow, people are taking this as a sign that the end is closely approaching, even though I feel like the exact opposite is what the implication should be, that if you're bringing on someone new to this position, this generation of people who will never pass away, and they're 30, 40, maybe 50 years away from passing away, well, then couldn't you reasonably argue that Armageddon isn't coming for like another 30 or 40 years? So why the sense of urgency in our day if that day is so far off in the future? I think that this is a good place to end this here because I truly have nothing else to say. Really, what else is there to comment on? 2 men who are completely brainwashed got promoted. They worked so hard, they wanted it the most, and they got it. So that was just my thoughts, just my opinion, and just my video. So if you like this video, then you can leave it a like. And if you like me, well then you can frickin' subscribe to my channel because I will be talking about whatever I want, whenever I want, because this is my channel. And that's what we do here, baby. So subscribe. As always, chulas, I hope that you have a beautiful, wonderful, amazing rest of your day.